Alright, so here's how to master so-called expert level passages without going absolutely crazy wanting to burn your clarinet or throw it into the wood chipper. So here's just the process that I go through myself. And we're going to be doing Close A14, a particularly difficult etude. You just go all over the place like an absolute crazy person. It's not really awesome to listen to, but it is really difficult and makes you want to bang your head against the wall. So let's begin. So the first thing you got to do to start playing crazy fast stuff like this is slow the hell down. Chances are you're just like trying to blaze through this stuff like you're Super Mario or something. Right, and I can kind of do it, but not super well. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to try to resonate every single note to the fullest degree, and then only when I'm satisfied, I'm going to move into the next note, and the motion I'm going to do it with is a relaxation motion. So I'm always going to be releasing here. Right, so fully resonate the note and then move, right? Try to make your most beautiful sound, and you'll end up making a lot more progress this way a lot quicker than if you just go Energizer Bunny mode on it. You also have to look at the 3 Fs. When we go through tricky passages, we have this tendency to react in 3 ways. The first 2 you're probably familiar with. The third one I'm going to introduce you to. First 2, fight or flight. Right, so fighting is when you realize that you don't know where you're going, you don't know what you're playing next, and then you start going like, oh, what am I gonna do? Right, okay, so don't do that. The next one is flight, which is when you just stop blowing. There's fight, there's flight, and then the third one is freeze. So if you can catch yourself before you're gonna make a mistake, which is what you're effectively training yourself to do by fully resonating the note first, then you can prevent a bunch of mistakes when you're preparing stuff, and then you don't have to go through and practice things a ton of times because you just play it really well from the beginning with a super high quality. You speed it up gradually, right, with the same thing in your mind of only go as fast as you can resonate, and then it just ends up like a ton better. So yeah, definitely do this. The next stage in my incredible process is to just blow. Chances are you're not blowing enough air. And the thing is that we have this interference which comes up. So whenever we go through and we try to play a really tricky passage, then our mind goes like haywire and we're trying to like focus really hard on the notes, and then we stop blowing. Now, a way that you can train yourself to keep blowing despite your fingers having to go crazy here is you take your fingers, right? First, you just start wiggling them like this. So you're gonna look like crazy when you do this, okay? But just trust me here. So you're gonna wiggle your fingers and try to catch yourself if your fingers are linking up like this, right? Try to isolate them like this, right? So they're all moving freely. You don't really gotta worry about your thumbs, right? But just move all these fingers freely. Take a deep breath and blow as hard as you can. So like this. Oops. So anyways, now that we got our music back, once you do this, right, you'll notice that when you go back to the clarinet, if you've done this correctly so that you're training yourself to isolate your fingers from the air, creating air independence, then it should be a lot easier to just blow through everything. Something else to think about is if you're actually like supporting the air, if you're accelerating it the entire time. And a way that you can ensure that you do that as well is you can, I'm gonna go back so you can see a little bit better. You take your legs and you lift up like you're doing a plank, and what this will do is it tightens your core muscles, and so you're using like all this musculature here, assuming that you have any, to help push the air a little bit faster and keep the tension across the diaphragm. That gets us to our next point, which is you have to blow the air in the middle, right? So if I think of voicing every single note, it's not going to be so great. Take this spot for example, right? When I'm going B, A flat, F, D, and then back down D, F, A flat, B. So what I'm going to do is, well, first I'm going to establish the low note, and then I'm going to change the voicing to be somewhere in between the A flat and the F, maybe around like the D-ish. All right, so the way you can test your voicing is you play the harmonic up from the root note, So like, so I'm not using the register key here. I'm just playing G and then overblowing it to the D. Right, you can see that. Okay, so you do this to get your voicing set, memorize that, and then just blow the air like that throughout the entire time. Okay, so the next pro tip here is to get snappy. So your fingers, we don't want them to be slow and lazy because then there's going to be lots of blips in between the notes. So it's really important to, as you're going through and practicing slowly, snap between the notes so that you're essentially practicing playing fast while you're practicing slow. I know, confusing, right? This will really help you to get a lot more clarity because essentially how fast you change your fingers decides how quickly the note pops out or not. And right now we want the notes to pop out a lot because if they don't pop out, it's just going to sound like mush. And then the final, most important part of the process here is to start edging. You're going to start playing a little bit faster, a little bit faster, a little bit faster until you start to reach the point where you're about to lose control. So you can feel, you're trying to sense ahead of what you're playing. So you're about to see, okay, do I understand what I'm going to play coming up? Do I see the notes coming up? Am I able to, get my fingers to them effectively? Now you'll notice sometimes that you forget what's coming up or you're just not aware of what's coming up, and that's okay. But the point of this exercise is to then slow down so that you can catch yourself so that you don't make a mistake. The key idea here is to play like someone is watching because they're always watching. Okay, so to do a quick recap of what I talked about. First, you gotta slow the hell down. Second, just blow. Third, aim for the middle with the voicing. 4, get snappy with it. And 5, always edge when you practice. Alright, so that brings us to the end of the video then. If you found this to be helpful, definitely leave a like. Write in the comments anything that you'd like to see next. I'll be making more videos like this soon, so definitely stay tuned. And if you are a clarinetist who happens to want to master the instrument, but you don't want to have to hide in a cave for 4 years, or play with so much tension that it feels like your fingers are going to fall off, then click the link below to learn more about working with me. I'll see ya.